Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be setting up a Blackwater Aquascape in this 30 centimeter cube aquarium. It's rimless aquarium by Seapora, which for this setup I'll be using some Malaysian driftwood, some sand, maybe some stones and other kinds of wood. But the first thing that we're going to do is add our base layer from Tannin Aquatics. So this is a rich nutrient base, which we're eventually going to cap. For now we're going to add that along with some leftover soil, sand, aqua soil that I have in order to give this aquarium a rich substrate. We'll also be adding some root tabs to ensure that this base has nutrients for a long time. Then we're going to go ahead and cap all of our rich nutrient base with sand. Now I recommend doing this to ensure that none of these nutrients are leached into your water column. This will ensure that you have a mostly algae-free setup from the beginning. Generally, when you have these nutrients in a brand new aquarium, they'll leach into the water will become nutrient rich, and algae will take over, either because you don't have enough plants, or which will be in my case, or also because these plants will be new and not ready to absorb all that extra nutrient. Now, I will admit that creating a layout for this setup was challenging. At first, I wanted something that was coming to the top of the aquarium to add a bit more surface area within the water column itself. But after trying different variations, angles, and whatnot, it became a bit too challenging. I was recalling a aquarium that was similar to this that I had in the past that turned out really well. But I soon realized that this layout just wasn't going to work, but it took quite a bit of trial and error. Eventually I realized that I wanted to do something perhaps more dedicated to the floor of this setup. But even then, it took some trial and error. Eventually I settled on this design, which still has some nice elements to it. We went ahead and added some lava rock, which is great in these black water setups as it can harbor a lot of beneficial bacteria. And I glued these on to make sure that the stones and the wood would all stay in place. Now we're going to be trying something different. I am actually going to plant this with seeds, and I'll leave the information on the screen here. But I had all these seeds from one of the plants that I've been using in my pond and in my wabikusa, and I thought, I wonder if it'll work. I wonder if I can just plant them into a dry start and see if they'll grow. They've worked in other aquariums just by haphazard. So I'm going to put them in the back area here and somewhere a little bit closer to the front and see if we can't get some tall grass growing. Now we're just going to go ahead and spray this down thoroughly and then just wait and hope for the best. Now I have to say I was really impressed. This was about 2, maybe 3 weeks after the setup. I essentially watered it with that sprayer that you saw earlier regularly, and I covered it with a little saran wrap to keep the humidity in. You can see a little bit of algae where there's been water that's been kind of accumulating, but these have been growing so well and it looks so good. I'm actually really excited to see what's going to come as it grows even more. I did go ahead and add some detail gravel at this point. Now that the seeds were growing, I wasn't concerned about kind of covering them up with gravel, and we just gently put some detail little stones across throughout the aquarium to give it just, some little more accents and focal points. I still felt it lacked a little something, so I went and added this little twig that I've had lying around just for some added contrast to the bulky wood and stone. I thought this would help kind of align some of the smaller gravel details by adding some smaller wood details. Now, unfortunately, I did make an error and accidentally let this thing dry out, which killed quite a bit of the grass that I was growing. So I kind of had to restart a bit, and eventually I was able to flood it, but as you can see, it's not as full as it was in the previous shot. Now we are going to be adding some botanicals to this one, as we do want to make it a BLACKWATER setup. And we're going to be adding things like alder cones, live oak leaves, almond leaves, and whatever I can find from my stash, which I will put on the screen for reference. But I really wanted to make this into a BLACKWATER since it's one that I have not had for quite some time. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of cut these leaves up, make them a bit smaller than usual. Otherwise, these giant almond leaves will take up just way too much room. And we're going to go ahead and boil them. I boil them for about 30 minutes, mostly just to kill any parasites or bugs or anything that might be hitchhiking on there, which is pretty rare, but it's good to do anyways. And then I will strain them and let them cool before I just start tossing them into the aquarium. When you boil them for that long, they should sink right away. And if they don't, just wait. Those ones at the top will eventually sink anyways. When you start with this many botanicals, you're going to get a nice, rich, brown, tannin-filled water. It's not dirty water. For anyone who tells you that BLACKWATER looks dirty, it's not. It's just tannins, which is just little small debris that just changes the color of the water. But it is said that tannins have some really positive attributes to it, including some antimicrobial attributes, antibiotic attributes, which can help keep fish and particularly shrimp, which I'll be keeping in here, safe. Also, things like almond leaves will break down relatively slowly and actually become food for your shrimp and snails that might be in here. But the biggest benefit that I find is that these botanicals will actually help microfauna, so little invertebrates and little bugs and things like that really grow in these setups, which can be a constant source of food if you have little micro fish that are in here. So, which is what I plan to do. And I know from experience that you'll have a lot of little water bugs throughout, and they'll just feast on them throughout as well. I love the way that botanicals and leaf litter add just textures and different colors to an aquascape. And even if you're not setting up a blackwater, adding some botanicals to your aquascape or aquarium can really benefit the fish and shrimp that are in there, while also adding just some texture and some really fine details to your setup. These little details can really bring out that natural feel that a lot of people do go for when trying to aquascape. So don't hesitate to just try these leaf litter. Get them from a reputable source. Check your local bylaws if you think you're going to collect things, and try to avoid doing anything locally close to your home, as pesticides and things of the sort can also be on them. But I hope you like this video. We'll leave it here with some of these final shots, and as you can see, the water is already starting to turn a bit darker. But I hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to like, follow, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take care.